Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on finding tenants. And with Landlord Studio, my name's Logan Ransley, and I'm the co-founder of a Landlord Studio. Now, your investment property is too valuable for you to leave your tenant selection up to chance, really. So in our previous webinars, we've talked a bit about, various stages of finding and selecting tenants, from setting rent to tenant screening, and even taking a look at some of the tools that are on the market at the moment that can help you with each stage of your journey. And if you haven't already watched those webinars, all these webinars are free. They're online. There's recordings, and they can be accessed by our website or our YouTube channel. Now, today I want to do something a little bit different. We're going to be exploring how you can use Landlord Studio specifically to create your rental listing, collect leads, manage applications and tenant screenings, and then basically looking at what comes next. Now, we've released quite a few updates and improvements to these features since the beginning of the year, and we're really excited to share these today. By the end of this webinar, you'll have a really clear idea of what makes a great tenant and how you can streamline this process and sort of keep minimum vacancies without sort of incurring massive rental marketing costs. And if you've got any questions, you can always reach out to us at help@landlordstudio.com or drop a message into the chat on this webinar. Now, the first step to finding a new tenant is marketing your property. Now, this means creating a rental listing that will appeal to your target market and getting it in front of as many relevant eyes as possible. Now, there's a few ways of doing this. For rent signs in the front yard, word of mouth, for example. But the easiest way and the most effective way to put your listing up and to find tenants is by using online listing platforms. And Landlord Studio's listing and syndication feature makes it really easy to do that. You can create a listing and then easily share it to Zillow, Zoompa, Trulia, and Hotpads with a single click of the button. So here's how. I'm going to jump in right now and show you. So log into Landlord Studio. If you don't already have an account, you can create one for free at landlordstudio.com. On that left-hand side, you can go to the Listings tab and select Create New Listing. Now, all you need to do is select the property, add a few basic details in here, such as property type, area, etc. Next, you want to add the amenities to that listing as well. So this will tell the tenant what you're offering in that property. Simply give it a title and a description. Give it something quite, exciting to make it compelling for the tenant to actually want to click on that and inquire. And then once you've done that, you can add a few details around when it's available, the rent amount, the rent schedule, if pets are allowed, and if smoking is allowed, etc. So super easy. All you need to do is just by entering the information here, select the drop downs, and then click continue. Once you've done that, add your contact details to the listing, and then now it's time to add all your photos. So we make it really easy to add photos. You can add them, swap them around, add and change the order, and then click save. And then that essentially brings us into the final step, which is the pre-screening. So pre-screening questions is basically a way to help you screen out tenants and make sure that you're also in line with the fair housing guidelines. Final step is to select whether you're going to syndicate or share that listing out to Zillow, etc. automatically, or if you just want the Landlord Studio listing. And if you want to automatically pre-screen those leads as well. So we recommend syndication. It'll post it out automatically to Zillow, Zoompa, etc. And then once you've done that, basically your listing ends up on Zillow and those platforms automatically for tenants to be able to find it and inquire through those platforms, where those leads will then come back into Landlord Studio, which I'll cover off in a second. So listing syndication, I'll just sort of recap, means we're going to share that rental listing across multiple top real estate websites. So you're creating this listing in Landlord Studio. This is a property listing that sits within Landlord Studio's platform where you can manage it fully. And then when we syndicate it, we're sharing that listing out to the main sites. And there's a one-to-one connection between your listing on Landlord Studio and the listing on Zoompa, Zillow, Trulio, etc. And so the leads from that website are going to come back into Landlord Studio when you get them. So there's several advantages with doing this. Increased visibility. Your listing is going to be seen by millions of people or potential millions of people on the sites like Zillow. It has great exposure. This means you're going to get more leads. Increased visibility comes with higher volume of inquiries. This allows you to choose from a larger pool of candidates to choose from, and it gives you ultimately higher chance of finding the right tenant. And a broader audience means a better chance of finding good tenants who ultimately meet your criteria and are going to be a good fit for your property. Finally, let's jump in and have a look at what that listing looks like. So ensure that everything looks okay before you publish it. So if you see any errors, you can go back and check them. Once you've submitted it, our team will manually review it before it goes live. This process normally takes less than 24 hours. We need to make sure that these listings are legitimate, etc. And now all you have to do once that listing is live is wait for that listing to be posted out to Zillow, etc. You'll see the status, and then you'll see leads starting to come in. So what I'm showing you here is the Landlord Studio listing version. The listing on Zillow and Zoompa is created there, and then effectively this allows you to either generate leads from Zillow directly or share this particular page with tenants that you might already be in contact with, or if you simply want to share this on Facebook, etc., you can do that as well. So let's cover a few basic things in order to make your listing stand out. So, to make your listing stand out to potential tenants, you got to keep these things in mind. High resolution photos, well-lit photos, these are going to make your listing more appealing. And, clear images are going to help tenants visualize the space and generate more interest. Provide a thorough description of the property as well. And, this includes both benefits and any possible negatives or positives to set expectations and attract high intent leads. Making sure that you're providing as much detail as possible in these listings. Now, another really important thing is to emphasize any unique aspects of the property, such as recent renovations, special amenities, or a desirable location. These can really help set your listing apart from others. So make sure that your listing covers all the essential information, including these, but also cover things like rent amount, lease duration, security deposit, application requirements. The transparency actually really helps streamline the application process and ultimately attract the right tenants in the end. Now, when you create your listing with Landlord Studio, again, we create a free listing website for you. And this is on Landlord Studio side. And this comes with a unique URL. So from this page, prospective tenants that are not coming through Zillow, Zoompa, etc., have the opportunity to also inquire and apply on your property. So this means that if you use marketplaces like Facebook, which don't allow automatic posting of listings, then you can simply share your unique URL in your Facebook marketplace listing or on your Facebook feed. And as you likely already know, leads that come through marketplaces can be tend to be lower intent or lower quality. Facebook Marketplace specifically, and the tenants have a lower sort of desire to really engage. But the advantages of doing this, one, you can collect all your leads in one place, and then two, you can thoroughly pre-screen them, avoiding time wasters and sort of streamlining the entire process from end to end. So let's jump into part two. This is all about reviewing tenant leads. Again, if you have any questions, drop it into the chat below. We'll be sure to answer those at the end. But let's cover off reviewing tenant leads. So once you've received a lead from a source, whether it be Zillow or through your live listing URL, you'll be notified by email automatically. So you'll know exactly when it comes in. Now, all you need to do is to log back into Landlord Studio. Again, go to the leads tab on the left-hand menu, and here you'll see a whole lot of leads that have been generated from sources, and whether they've filled out the pre-screening or not. So you can actually review those pre-screening questionnaires. This is the questionnaire that's automatically sent out to the tenants when they apply, or the leads that apply. And this information is going to really help you sift through the ones that you want to move into the next stage, whether it be tenant screening or phone calls, or the sort of follow-up, or the application process that comes after that. So pre-screening is great. It really filters out the high-quality leads before you even have to engage with them. And this is all automatic. We send it out. The prospective will go in and fill out the form, answer the questions, and then these questions will generate answers right inside Landlord Studio. We can see those answers against that profile. Now, shortlisting qualifying applicants, really important. So based on those pre-screening responses, you can now create a short list of applicants who meet simply just basic criteria for your property. So once the tenant has viewed the property, and assuming everything is good, you can now move them into that application stage and tenant screening stage. So let's have a look at what that sort of looks like. This is sort of part three, and covers off some of the rental application and tenant screening process. So from the menu, again, we can jump in to the screening and applicants little tab here. We can then jump across to the leads, and then we can go into that lead and now start to invite them in. So we actually have a full application process built into Landlord Studio. There's two options here. You can either run a tenant screening report, or you can invite them to do a full application where you collect more information, such as pay stubs, more financial information, previous landlord information, all that sort of good stuff. But in this case, we're running a tenant screening report. We're having the renter pay for that report, and we are then inviting them in to submit their information, and which then provides us with ability to see the tenant screening report generated by TransUnion. So in this case, this is the experience the tenant is now following. They get an email, they log in. Now they have the chance to then upload all their information for the tenant screening side. So basically what this is allowing you to do is really take it into the next step. So once you've decided that there's a tenant that you're wanting to engage with and actually let them apply for the property, you can then move them into having them do a full application process with a tenant screening report. And now that tenant screening report will highlight a lot of the things that you're going to want to know before making that final decision. This is all private and secure from the tenant side. When we ask them for all this personal information, this is simply provided and passed through to TransUnion automatically. And we do a soft credit pull, very similar to how you would have used a tenant screening report before. However, this is all baked into Landlord Studio's experience. So once they've paid and submitted their application, or you've paid for the report, so we give those two options. Once they've submitted all their information, you'll be notified by email where you can then log back in and view the report. Now, The report will include 4 main parts to this. So we've got full credit report, we've got an identification report. This is basically telling you exactly who they are and if their information matches up with ID records. Social verification, nationwide criminal background check, and a nationwide rental history evictions report. And the first thing to do is cross-reference the report details with the applicant details. So interpreting the report, you'll want to dig into the sections of the report, such as the resident score, current open trade lines, whether they've got loans, etc., and whether they have a history of timely payments. So actually paying off loans and paying off trade lines, etc. So you're going to want to look for any red flags that may indicate that they can't or won't pay the rent on time. So next, take a look at the evictions and the criminal history reports. You'll want to compare this information against your preset tenant criteria that you're wanting to enforce for this property, and that will help you sort of align whether this person is suitable. And next, you want to make that decision. So based on the application, the screening report, all this information that you've gathered, the phone calls that you'll do to the landlord or previous landlord, this is when you start to now get into that process of making that final decision. So remember, if you use information from the screening report in the final decision, you will need to notify the tenant that their application has been declined, for instance. So if you are declining based on tenant screening information, then you'll need to issue an adverse action notice per the FCRA guidelines. So we've got templated emails to do that. You can find them on our website. And finally, if you do choose to proceed, you can move them on to finalizing and signing that lease agreement with that selected tenant. Now, before we move on, I'm just going to dig down into that tenant screening report just a little bit so that you can understand and interpret this report and help you make that crucial decision for your potential tenant. So the key elements to look for in the report are the resident score. So this is a proprietary score by TransUnion and is based on the tenant's credit score, but gives more weight to rental history and rent payments. This score is an indicator of an applicant's financial responsibility. So look for scores that meet your minimum threshold of for an acceptable credit risk, for instance. The next is the credit history. So review the applicant's credit history for any sort of significant issues such as late payments, high levels of debt, bankruptcies, etc. Pay attention to the detail of their credit history as well and how they've managed their finances over time. And then obviously the eviction history. So check their rental history for any disputes with landlords or evictions on their report. And, this is going to be an indicator of future problems or that may require further context from your side. Alternatively, no evictions and positive landlord references are a great indicator. Criminal background check. Again, are there any red flags in their criminal history? Consider the nature of the recency of any criminal history and assess if there's any issues that may adversely impact the property and other tenants. Again, employment income verification, that's going to help you sort of double check whether their income matches up with the records as well. Now, finally, moving on to part 4, and this is all about making the best tenant selection. So, making an informed decision based on the report. So, you got to weigh up all these factors. Considering all elements of the screening report together, a single red flag might not disqualify an applicant if other aspects are strong. You've got to balance out those things. But if multiple issues are there and that causes concern, then that may be a red flag for proceeding. Comparing applicants is really important as well. If you have multiple qualified applicants, use the screening report to then sort of compare them against each other. Look for the differences in those credit scores and rental history and other factors that are going to help you choose the best fit. And then making the final decision. So based on the comprehensive analysis of the screening report, decide whether to offer the lease to the applicant and ensure, that your decision aligns with property management policies and standards as well. And then you want to communicate that decision. So this is really important. Once you've made your decision, and you're going to inform that applicant promptly, provide clear communication about the next steps, whether it's moving forward with the lease agreement or notifying them of your decision. So that is a very short and quick overview of how Landlord Studio does all this, from creating a listing all the way through to syndication or sharing the listing out to the sites like Zillow, Zumper, etc., and then having those leads come in, pre-screening them, and then allowing you to really understand who the right tenant is, and then moving them into the application and screening process. So our end-to-end system will help you essentially create a listing, find and generate leads, and then ultimately help you find the perfect tenant at the end of it, providing you with all the tools around screening in the meantime and to help support that. So if you have any questions about this, you can reach out to our help support team, help@landlordstudio.com. If you don't have an account, definitely sign up and try it out. I'm just going to answer a few questions that are in the chat for the webinar at the moment. So Becky was wondering if you could do a video on working with a realtor in your properties that are out of town and then coordinating it with Landlord Studio. I'll definitely pass that along to our marketing team. We'll schedule something like that in. We do have a lot of realtors that do work with us, so I will pass along to the team and we'll have a chat to see when we can have that as a live webinar as well. So Alvin, does Landlord Studio offer the ability to store the applications on or print them off? So yes, the whole application will be inside Landlord Studio. We don't currently have a PDF version, but that is coming. And so what that will allow you to do is have all the information on file and then be able to generate it directly from within. However, all the information from the application will be against a lead and a tenant profile so that you can see it there as well. So hopefully that answers your question. If you've got any other question, does Landlord Studio offer the ability to create rental agreements? So not currently, but we do have templates online. It is something that we are going to be working towards in the next few months. We do have plans to create a e-sign rental agreement sort of process where you can have your rental agreement and then have it signed by the tenant as well. So we have plans for that. It's not currently in the platform, but definitely stay around to look for that as we come out with the updates. Cool. It doesn't look like there's any more questions, so I'm going to move on to sort of the final part. And thank everyone for joining us today for the Landlord Studio webinar on sort of finding tenants and using our new features effectively. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope this sort of provides a little bit more insight into how we can help you end to end. So, from creating listing all the way through to signing the tenant into the property.